Okay, so Pitchfork had put out a top 100 rap albums list not too long ago, but I did not get a chance to officially weigh in on that. However, I just recently saw that there's a new list according to the Pitchfork reader. So I did want to go over that today, hit y'all with my thoughts. Now, bear in mind, this list is not from the Pitchfork publication. Rather, it is a list of 25 albums according to the Pitchfork viewers or their readership. So when you initially look at this list, if you're a hip hop head from that purely hip hop perspective, you're gonna say, wow, this is terrible. It's trash. It's missing so many classic albums. And you know what? You are right. But I would urge you, to attempt to get inside the mindset here of what could be the average Pitchfork viewer or subscriber. This isn't to judge anyone, but I think there are certain qualities that maybe the average Pitchfork listener might possess. For one, I think they place a big emphasis on an artist's album being highbrow or having some literary artistic value. That's a big one. So just regular dope hip hop albums, they aren't gonna probably make the cut for the average Pitchfork type. There's also a certain emphasis on impact and whether an album is technically a game changer or not, which I don't think is solely unique to Pitchfork. I think when you have lists of this nature, that's always somewhat factored in, but it's still a big thing for Pitchfork. They want to know, did it move the needle? And then the third quality sometimes is that they tend to be casual listeners. And look, there's nothing wrong with being a casual, but you just have to own it. I mean, everyone starts out as a casual until you learn more. And I'm not trying to say that I know it all. But I will say, as long as I've been listening to music, and I'm sure as long as many of you have been listening to music, you can sort of see patterns, when people make these lists. Certain red flags will go off that just tells me this person's probably an entry-level casual listener. Or this person might be an upper tier level casual listener, almost into that entry-level hip-hop head phase. They aren't quite hip hop heads, but maybe they know a thing or two that will impress a beginning casual. Yeah, that probably really sounds judgmental, and that's really not the point. But look, I do urge you to look through the lens of what the average Pitchfork viewer might be, so it might make more sense, this list. Okay, let's just jump right into it. For number one, they have Illmatic. And look, of course, it's Illmatic. I'm not going to argue with anyone picking Illmatic for the number one spot. I mean, It Was Written is my favorite Nas album personally, but look, we do all understand the significance of Illmatic. Number two, Wu-Tang Enter the 36 Chambers. Okay, I actually like to see this. Now, obviously, this album was a game changer. Now, sonically, there are some who may prefer Wu-Tang Forever. Maybe you feel they matured as lyricists by that point in 97. But when looking at raw overall impact, Enter the 36 Chambers would be the right one. Number three, Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly. Okay, not my favorite Kendrick Lamar album, but it's good. And I understand that it's already critically acclaimed and recognized by many publications as a classic album. So I'm not going to argue that that should be changed. I did make a video on the top 10 jazz rap albums, and I do feel To Pimp a Butterfly would make the cut for that. So look, it's expected. Now, back-to-back Kendrick albums though. Wow. Good Kid, Mad City. This would be my favorite Kendrick album. I think if you have to listen to Kendrick album, this would be the one. It's a modern day classic, and it does deserve to be on a list. So there's Mad Villainy at number 5, and this wasn't too much of a surprise. Obviously, MF Doom was a certified legend in the underground and one of the most influential artists in that abstract lane. So Mad Villainy would be the right Doom album For sure. Number 6, A Tribe Called Quest, Low End Theory. I would have it higher, but the order to this list is all messed up in general. But yeah, the Low End Theory is the best jazz rap album of all time and the best Tribe album. It's so good. It's so good. It deserves all the mics. All right, number 7, Kanye's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. So a more contemporary album. You could call it a classic. Personally, I feel it's just a bit overrated, but I'm not going to argue if someone deems this as a classic. And it is the epitome of the Pitchfork aesthetic, so I get why it's on here. Okay, so Outkast's Aquemini for number 8. Now, out of all the Outkast projects, this would be the one that I think universally most fans would agree on. I think personally, ATLiens is their best. Followed by Southern Playlistic, and then Aquemini. I'm sorry, Aquemini, then Southern Playlist. And number 9 is Biggie's Ready to Die. So yeah, in terms of impact, this album was instrumental in giving the East Coast life after much West Coast dominance in the early 90s. So yeah, this would be the one. Now, the reality is, Biggie albums tend to have some skips, even though they are classic. Then there's an 80s classic listed, Public Enemies. It takes a nation a million to hold us back. Of course, this belongs on the list. Now, you might look at everything else and say, well, there should be more 80s representation. Obviously, I would agree. Eric B. and Rakim's Paid in Full, as well as Slick Rick's Children's Story, should have likely been on here as well. But I'm glad to see Public Enemies project was on here, obviously, for not only the production, the impact, the conscious activist lyricism. There's a lot of reasons why it makes sense, and it should be on here. All right, for number 11 is GZA's Liquid Swords. And wow, I gotta say, as a Wu head, I love Liquid Swords. I'd say it's probably a personal 5 mic album for me. I might be a little biased, but at the same time, I am surprised that it was ranked this high. And if I could guess, I'd say it just might show Pitchfork's preference for lyricists who are deemed more intelligent, because GZA would be the one from Wu-Tang that would be labeled as such. Possibly that's why it was picked so high. But yeah, great album. For number 12, they have De La Soul's 3 Feet High and Rising. I'm not mad at this whatsoever. I understand why it's here. I actually would view De La Soul is Dead as the better album, and I probably listen to Stakes is High the most. But I do understand that this project is what set it off for De La, so I get why it's on here. Okay, number 13 is Stankonia from Outkast, and no, it should not be on here. Look, I understand in terms of sales, and this is when Outkast became like a household name, but this pick just screams casual listener or just experimental alternative listener, not from the perspective of the hip hop head. No judgment, but it just is what it is. I mean, the hip hop head is going to tell you ATLiens, Aquemini, or Southern Playlistic. And for number 14, there's A Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Marauders. I'm not mad at this. Of course, it's a 5 mic project. Number 15, though, is Beastie Boys' Paul's Boutique. And that's an interesting choice for a Beastie Boys album, but it ultimately screams Pitchfork. I mean, I don't know how much the average person really spins Paul's Boutique religiously. It's a good album, and a lot of the praise is because it was so experimental as far as the sampling was concerned. But I'm just a little surprised that it ranks that high. So next was Lauryn Hill's The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, and this is such a predictable pick. It's on every major list, and this never really felt like a rap album to me, or probably to most hip hop heads. I mean, it's a great album, but if we're limited to only 25. Next was Dr. Dre's The Chronic. Of course, this needed to be here. A landmark G-Funk West Coast classic. Doesn't get much more influential. Now, speaking on The Chronic, what should have logically followed was Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style, but Yeah, it's not here. Rather, they have Kanye's Yeezus. And I'm just wondering what the replay value is on Yeezus for a lot of fans in 2025. Like, seriously, if we're talking impact, I would understand 808s and Heartbreaks a little bit more than Yeezus. I mean, I know at first Yeezus probably seemed somewhat groundbreaking if you're a big Kanye guy, but at number 19 is Jay-Z's The Blueprint. I'm not mad at this at all. Sure, I love Reasonable Doubt, but I also really dig The Blueprint. Now, this is peak Jay dominating New York hip hop when the towers fell, and also when that Chipmunk soul is being ushered in. And speaking of soul sampling, at 20 is Kanye's College Dropout, that old Kanye era. I mean, I don't have a problem with it, but if you only have 25 albums. Mobb Deep's The Infamous. Yes, they definitely got this one right. Of course, I would have it higher, but hey. So, yeah, classic 90s New York hip hop album from one of the best duos ever. Definitely should have made the list. Number 22 is Raekwon's Only Built for Cuban Links. Now, for me, this would be my number one pick, but I'm glad that it's on here, and yeah. It should have been higher than Liquid Swords, but it is what it is. And at 23 is Kendrick Lamar's Damn. I mean, again, 3 picks from Kendrick when you only have 25 albums to select. I'm not saying Damn is a bad album, but come on, the bias here is wild. It's blatant. At 25 is Eminem's The Marshall Mathers EP, and I get why it's on here if you must pick an Eminem album. Now, I probably would listen to the Slim Shady LP a bit more, but this one's fine. I'm not mad at it. And finally, for number 25, they have Ghostface's magnum opus, Supreme Clientele. So don't get me wrong, this is a classic, but I still sometimes prefer Iron Man. But I'm also of the mindset, you know, that a younger fan is probably going to gravitate towards this. When this project dropped in 2000, this was looked at as the second chapter for the Wu. This was the main highlight from that second chapter, though. So overall, there were some really important albums that were included in this list. I'm not gonna front. Now, the order was terrible, and some of the picks just reeked of like the, hey guys, you know, I'm a casual and I know a thing or two, so yeah, these are the greatest albums ever. Or also the, hey guys, I'm trying to pick something that will make you view me as a little more artistic and a little more cultured so I can just flaunt my knowledge. And for me, it was somewhat mind-boggling that Kendrick did have 3 projects when certain West Coast legends that influenced his style greatly were not included, including Pac. Ice Cube's Death Certificate. It's mind-boggling that Doggy Style wasn't on here. I know it's not West Coast, but 50 Cent's Get Rich or Die Trying as far as impact. And obviously, there was hardly any Southern representation outside of Outkast. Of course, I'm also mindful that it's never easy to pick 25 projects because the reality is that you will inadvertently miss some, no matter how well-intentioned you may be. So look, if I'm viewing this list as a pure hip-hop head, a lot of these albums would not be listed. Some of them would, though. Yeah, at the end of the day, I do have some issues with this list. Yeah, few lists have triggered me, but this one really did annoy me, but it does give you some insight into how perhaps the average Pitchfork viewer interprets music or what they deem is important when breaking down or critiquing music, and it just gives you some perspective of Pitchfork's target audience as a whole. But yeah, let me know your thoughts below. There are some classics here, but the list does reveal all of the casuals out there who think they know more, you know, than they do. But it's all good. Hopefully they grow. They learn some more hip-hop history. You feel me? But it's your boy Mixtape Maf. I'm signing out. As always, it's peace and blessings. One.